That's a new thing.
Oh, the third party thing?
Yeah, that threw me a little off. I was like, third party. I already don't
Yeah,
trust
no, it's just
technology on its own, but
no, it's just letting you know that it's going on YouTube, which it is right now.
okay. Yeah. Well, apologies. I didn't know. Yeah.
Ah, we're here.
All right.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 428 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded June 3rd, 2024.
We need your help. To support the Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist and support small businesses that may or may not be on this panel, and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, and as always, follow the right for the homepage link of Lee.
All right, now our favorite segment of the show, what are we drinking? Liz is not here, so we can't carry on with tradition. So I will pick on Eric first. Eric, what are you drinking? And one thing off the Patriot Challenge.
One thing off the page. Well, I am drinking. As a large baseball fan, I was at two strikes with my first two beers I attempted. So I'm drinking Buffalo Trace Kentucky Bourbon and water. That's what that's going to be tonight. One thing off the Patriot Challenge, I had some range time today.
Excellent.
Homemade range,
Nice.
and yeah, I'm in the process of looking at a 223 rifle, and had a chance to try it out, and I think I have a few bugs worked out, which we can talk about later.
There you go.
Excellent.
Nice.
Good.
That's awesome.
Pierre, what are you drinking tonight?
Whiskey and Pepsi, and when that runs out, I've got these fantastic Jameson whiskey lemonades that I cracked before the show. Water as always. Patriot Challenge. Keeping up with the water with the weather and what I do for a living, and fighting to put equipment back together in Montreal on a Sunday. I drink lots of water. I also practice a skill on Saturday. I was left unsupervised in the backyard, so I got completely fucking hammered and listened to metal blaring on the fucking speaker we had going, and organized two sheds into one that we can now walk into it and make sense of it, and emptied out the other one about to be picked up from someone. But I have a feeling a bunch of neighbors won't want to talk to us anymore. So it's another skill practiced.
Perfect.
What about you, Gavin?
I am drinking some Signal Hill and Diet Pepsi this evening, as per usual. And things off the Patriot Challenge, yes, also keeping up with my water and my reading. I also practiced a skill sort of over the weekend. Myself and a few of the other panelists who are not here because they're slacking or something, we went fishing. I can't say that we practiced well because we were pretty unsuccessful in our endeavor. This is the third time now we've effectively been skunked on this lake. So, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's insanity. So this will be the last time we fish on that lake.
Or just liberal?
Yeah. But we did, have like a camp out and, did the bonfire thing and all that. So I got to practice a few things here and there. So that was good.
And that quality time with people that you enjoy being around is definitely way better bonus.
Did you practice your elbow exercises?
Yes, absolutely. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on iTunes and maybe some other places. We don't know. Definitely available on YouTube for now until we get banned. Upcoming events. The Army Run is coming up in September. The prices did go up this last Friday. So if you want to participate, it will cost you more money, but it does go to a good cause. So think about that. Yep. And on to the news, or at least a topic. So as we all know, it's a special month, the month of June.
It's
right?
June.
So yeah.
Summer's in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and so as
Yeah.
it is June, we're here to celebrate things that happen in June, such as Men's Mental Health Month.
Mm.
So
It's partially why Liz is not here. We didn't even send her
yeah,
the show notes.
yeah. So this is tonight's topic: men's mental health.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about some stuff relating to that and how we deal with the things that bother us, good or bad, and all of that fun stuff, because it's important stuff, and you guys should all, check in on each other from time to time, especially
Yep.
in June because it is Men's Mental Health Month.
Yeah.
But some quick stats here. So of the estimated 4,000 suicides that happen in Canada each year, close to 75% of those are men. Over the last 4 decades, men have accounted for most of the suicide deaths in Canada. Research into sex differences in suicide behavior has revealed a gender paradox. So while men are more likely to die by suicide, women are more likely to attempt it.
Yeah. So that's also because
But
like they're probably complaining that the fridge doesn't match with the stove.
no, I
And
think it has to do more with the way in which they choose to make their attempts.
so okay, sorry, carry on.
Yeah,
I'll go after, yeah.
yeah. So women, it seems, are more likely to have things like pills and so on and so forth. That
Yeah.
there are things that you can do to undo that if you act fast enough.
Yeah.
Men choose generally more extreme, more violent ways of doing it, and therefore, and I hate saying it this way, the success rate is higher because you
I
can't
mean,
really undo the thing once it's done. Like if you jump off of a building, it's very hard to undo that. So
yeah, it's
I think
shitty
that's
scenario, but a
part of
win
it.
is a win.
But that is sort of how, yeah, I mean, one of the differences between the men and the women, aside from the obvious, is obviously the way that we go about things. And that is also how we deal with mental health and everything else. It's like, yes, there are some similarities, but there are also some massive differences in all of that. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I'll go out on a tangent because I'm hoping
that's what
my
we
wife
do.
is like I'm hoping my wife isn't listening. Um, so I, from what I have construed it and paid attention to in a very small part because people suck. Um, I find there's a giant gap in between the point of being pushed where a man said, say, well, do something about a shitty situation in comparison to women will. So I think the attempt is more of, I'll say, my uneducated, simple mechanic man, knuckle dragging guy saying attempts of the other gender are probably more frequent than us, and they need to be pushed a little bit more before most men do something about it. In most cases, prove me wrong. I'm all up for it, but I'm just saying that's probably an educated guess that I'm going to be right on, and a lot of people won't like in general.
No, that's fair. I mean, we're all allowed our opinions, right or wrong. I am unsure. I think like I said earlier, I definitely think that men and women are definitely different when it comes to the way that our brains work.
100%.
It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means
Nope.
that we are different. And I think this is part of the problem is that and typically, in my opinion, and from what I have experienced in my life,
Mm-hmm.
men are more problem solving orientated
Yep.
and logical about their approach to things. Not always, because sometimes we can be pretty ridiculous,
Yep.
but that's how we go about things as opposed to women being more emotional and intuitive and things like that about things. But this is why it's sort of important and we focus on like men's mental health versus women's. Not that women's mental health isn't equally as important, but I think we
No.
need to deal with them in different ways because there's a lot of
And also, fuck you, get your own month.
yeah,
We did
but
it.
like there's yeah. and this is part of the problem, right? Is that there's this whole like concept of male privilege, how all of this,
Yeah.
the world is our oyster, right?
Yeah.
If you will. But then here we are, if you look at it, like, who are the vast majority of first responders? Who are the vast majority of people that have physically demanding jobs?
Yep.
And things like that. And I think that also, like, society has, in some ways put some of this stuff on to men, and other things it's just that, well, we are naturally better suited to it because we are
Evolution has taken all these steps to unfortunately make differences where in 99.9% of cases, males are more prominent in certain aspects of the world, whether it be strength, problem solving, all these things. Where, doing a landscape job or pouring concrete and doing asphalt and all the crazy labor intensive jobs are naturally easier for men to do than women. I'm not saying women can't do it, but it just comes naturally a lot easier.
Physicality is there. And I think also, there jobs that are definitely more dangerous as well are ones that are generally taken on by men. And part of the reason for that has to do with like propagation of the species, right? Like, if you have 10 people and you have 5 men and 5 women, and 3 of the men die, well, in theory you can still have 5 women that get pregnant.
Yes.
If the women die, then the next generation is reduced.
Then like there is none.
Like,
but
all of the men but one could die, and you could still have the next generation.
So are we also talking like what we would consider men and women years ago, or according to the 2024 standards?
Well, I'm talking
those will play in those statistics.
Biologically here, because I think there's definitely some other stuff, but like, you start putting in some of that other stuff, and then the mental health stuff statistically is more likely. But I think this is part of the problem. So because men have jobs that are more physically intense, more mentally intense, and I don't mean like academically mentally, I mean mentally in terms of like if you are a first responder and you see horrible things in your day-to-day life, that is certainly going to take a toll on your mental health, right? And given that more men seem to be in those fields, it's going to affect them.
100%.
Also, then you throw in the pandemic.
Pandemic? You forgot a letter.
Yeah. So, when people were stuck at home and told that they were not essential and that they were useless, and all of that, and they couldn't go out and see their friends, and they couldn't do things, and all they were left to do is sit home alone, potentially, because you didn't want to risk infecting your friends and family. So now you have people that are isolated and alone and feeling hopeless and useless. And now what do we have access to because they're essential for risk reduction? Drugs and alcohol.
Yep. We didn't shut down. We didn't shut down in a single OCS approved place or a single LCBO during that whole
pandemic. And I get the whole idea of harm reduction and everything, but I think that this was a big mistake how we handled all of this, and that certainly 100%. Didn't help. And then you throw in all the societal stuff of men having to be tough and all of that, which like we can be, and we are,
but we can also not be.
Doesn't mean that we also don't need to talk about this stuff, right? Which is hopefully us talking about it here, and isn't necessarily going to solve any of our individual problems, but it gets the ball rolling, and maybe
it gives somebody me an excuse to drink on Mondays.
Yeah. And so hopefully somebody that's listening will realize that like maybe they're not the ones that out there alone and feeling like things are hopeless, even though our government is terrible and certainly doesn't make it easy on us.
No. Right. Like, I'll be the last person to say that mental health is not a thing. I have lived through someone having mental health for years, and how way before the pandemic. So I'm not even talking about fucking,
Yeah.
the COVID-19 thing and how treatment has gone from there. I will say firsthand of being on both sides. This scenario specifically talking about just shitty fucking doctor service for someone that has mental health. And hey, can we figure out how to make this happen? Horrible, very hard to deal with. Thankfully, it has worked out for both of us. We're both still here. We're both still together. Um, Even though this was many, many fucking years ago, we're still working on that path of like, how do we get back before that was a thing? Even though that was 6, 7 years ago, there's still some hurdles we need to tackle. We're slowly getting there, not as fast as obviously anybody would like, but they're still there. And
Well, and that's the
like-
other thing is that like you could have two people that have the same air quotes for those that can't see problem, right?
Mhm.
But the way that they can deal with it and everything is on a totally different timeline.
Yeah.
So there is no like
there's no like one set of standards to solve this issue.
it's not like you
There's
break
not.
a bone and it's usually like, oh, there's an average of this, and it's no for the mental health stuff, it really seems that it's so all over the place, and like there is no
Yeah.
oh, it's 2 weeks, it's 2 months, it's 2 years. It takes as long as it takes
It could never disappear.
Yeah.
And I will stand by that, saying I thought that was bullshit many, many fucking years ago. And I will stand here today and just be like, I was wrong on that, because there are some things that you can manage a lot better.
yes, but they'll never go away.
They'll never disappear and never be a thing that will at least be on the back burner, right? Like in the back of your brain when a scenario comes up, and it's just like, that initial thought may not go down that dark path as a first response, but in the back of your mind, it still goes down that dark path where that can either be a thing of the past, or it could never go away, and it doesn't matter. It could happen when you were fucking 20, and at 70 years old, that's still a thing you think is possible. It can happen.
So I'm going to chime in. I'm listening to you guys talk.
Good,
and
because you
I-
haven't said shit for a long fucking time.
Well, I'm listening because I have some thoughts on the whole.
Yeah.
I'm significantly more advanced in age than you two.
So just because we didn't have baby dinosaurs or pet
And
dinosaurs doesn't mean we're
This
not
was
wrong.
never a problem back in my day.
Yeah.
Now there may have been. I'm not going to disagree that it's not a thing, because
Yeah.
in my wife's family there have been a couple of issues. I will agree that there is a thing. More often than not, and I've been thinking a lot about this. I don't think it's a question of a mental health issue. I think it's a question of a mental fitness issue.
I would say that is certainly something that has decreased over time.
I think the mental fitness of men today is very weak, and it has been allowed to get that way because as men or as a society, you're being berated and told you are worthless pieces of
Yes,
trash.
the idea of toxic masculinity and all of those things, and
all
you've got
that
to
BS. And I do not accept it. I'm not playing that game. I may be get off my lawn, as Liz likes to kind of laugh at me about, but there's a lot of mollycoddling going on, and it's sad, really. It's men are not allowed to be and don't want to be a man because they're afraid of their wife, and they're afraid of the consequences, and they're afraid of this, and we're gonna get run roughshod over as men.
Yeah, I would
And
say, yeah,
that's
definitely
where-
the mental fortitude is lacking.
So there is that's, and I don't want to. I mean, there are issues, and I fully will admit there are issues, but I think the amount of issues that are being talked about it's the 80-20, and I think it's probably the 90-10 rule. We're talking about
Yeah.
the 10 of it, and everybody thinks it's the 90.
Well,
It's like
yeah,
anything else we got going on in our world, to be honest. But
no, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I definitely agree that like mental fortitude is lacking and has been in a decline for decades. Some of the stuff is
Yeah.
that we didn't recognize it back then because we didn't know enough about it. Now we have a better grasp on certain things. I mean, like, we used to have the like, oh, that's just Johnny. He's shell shocked from the war.
Right,
So we
yeah,
knew there
yeah.
was something wrong about, but we didn't
Yeah.
really have a word. And now we've got PTSD and how to deal with it. So,
And back then
But-
we also had the thumb rule, where it wasn't legal to beat your wife with a stick bigger than your thumb, right? Which let's be honest, right? Like that was a thing, and we're probably making a small joke
Rule of
about it, but
thumb.
like that
Yeah.
is like, we're talking about like we're not
Yeah,
allowed to do
but-
that anymore, which obviously it was wrong, but like that was
But that's
probably a
where I
mental
think-
health scenario.
Well, okay, I'm
that
going to
should
say
have been
this,
dealt with.
and no, I'm going
I
to say
probably
this. Like,
won't
there's
disagree.
there's a thing going on in society.
Yeah.
There's a thing going on right now where systematically our
Yep.
family unit is being demolished.
Yes.
So the nuclear
So
family
there are
is
not
out the
moms
fucking
and dads
door.
together. And if they're not moms and dads together raising your kids, yeah, and that's on purpose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that works. And I don't care what anybody says, that works.
And that's
Because my wife and I, we've been married for 30-some years, got 4 kids. Our house is where all the kids come to. And I would say that 90% of the kids that come to our house, A, feel safe, B, like coming here, B or C would say we're almost friends with us.
Yep.
And D, their parents are all divorced.
Yep.
So there's something to be said for family that stays together, and then
Oh,
but
100%.
it's too hard.
But that's-
it's too hard to do
but that's
that.
where I think this
And
is
I'm
the problem
sorry,
is that
suck it up, you fucking pussies. I mean,
but that's where I
like-
think that's part of the problem is that like as we're saying, like the mental fortitude has been stripped away because of this, poor self-image that is being put on men for being men. And then you start pulling at the other little strands as well, right? So men can't be men and be proud of being men and masculine and all those things. And then you reduce their ability to deal with things by removing the family unit. So like, Jack Donovan talks about it in his book where like men are men and
Nice.
they do masculine things. But
Yep.
we need that counterpoint sometimes of women
Yep.
to rein us in a little bit because
You need the yin to
But-
the yang.
but women also need that masculine thing. We're like, okay, you're right, honey. Like I am being too hard on this particular person, and we need this person to be part of our group in order to survive. So like I can't go and like beat the crap out of them. But also I'm not happy with them. But we can't also have it be too far the other way. We're like, oh yeah, I'm going to just forgive everybody for every tiny little transgression that has ever been done on me, because that's going
it's
too far that way. But you start pulling at those little strands, right? And then we also have things now that we didn't have back then that also take
Right.
away some of that and increase the ability for issues to start, like your cell phone and the stupid apps that are on your cell phone. While some of them
Yeah.
are great,
No.
social media has been an incredible thing and also an absolutely horrible
yeah,
horrible
it's been
horrible horrible thing.
a giant disaster to society. Has
Yes.
ruined generations for years to come.
Well, and it's designed to like, and it
The
younger
initial
you-
intention was good. Social media was just made to be like someone that lives very far away. You can easily stay in communication, or people that have the same interests as you. You can get into
Yes.
contact and have
Well,
communication with them. The initial intent was fantastic.
Yes, but the
Look what the
problem is
fucking
now
parasite has
though, is that
become.
you've got to get the thing that is the next biggest thing in order to generate the money for the business.
Yeah.
So you look
Then-
at TikTok, and there's a reason why the videos are the length that they are. And Instagram can be just as bad. It is
Yeah.
instant dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And so you're scrolling through it and you start getting addicted to it.
There was a method behind why those videos could only be 30 seconds.
Yeah, because that is the length of time that we can
That's-
focus on something
and
And-
not get completely distracted.
Yeah. And so
Right.
if you make the video only that, and then you can keep bombarding them with that, and then you also give them the ability to, if they see something they dislike, they can
Yeah,
stop
and
it.
Yeah,
So they're
they
not
can
even
say,
forced to watch something they don't like. It's only things they like, hit after hit after hit after
And-
hit. So it's constant stimulus.
right, and then you've allowed that social media, specifically TikTok. I'm sure it's on Facebook, Instagram, whatever else there is out there, but you've allowed that program to start tracking your eyes, that when you sit on something for long enough, it actually knows specifically where you're looking on that screen, so that if it's a girl working out, you're probably looking at certain parts of the body in comparison to something else. If it was a guy or a conversation, or just you've allowed that system to monitor your eyes, monitor the length of time you've been on that,
Yeah.
how your facial reaction was to that video, that now there's been a systematic program that will automatically say he's probably, according to all these standards that you have allowed us
Yeah.
to monitor, will probably not like this one, but will probably like this one.
Yeah.
And they start pushing that feed full of stuff that will make you keep scrolling. Oh, that was good, heart emoji, and like, what's the next video? Oh, that was good too. And now they've got you hooked where now you're not doing the manly things. Now you're not going for your exercise. You're not making family game night. You're not having family suppers where technology is not a thing. And trust me, I'm not saying we have family suppers without technology, where my daughter will sit down because I'm like, well, she's on more of a schedule than me and my wife are. So okay, here's your food, because you got to get to bed in an hour and a half, and I don't want you to eat 20 minutes before going to bed. I want to let that settle a little bit more. So she'll eat without us. So I'm just as much of a culprit as 90% of people, whether it's a game, whether it's an app, whether it's something, right? I'm just as much of a culprit. My wife is, and my daughter is. She'll sit there and she'll figure out how to get on that YouTube reel where it's just like that thing. And I'm like, I'm getting annoyed in the background, but I'm also sitting there on Instagram. So it's like, how do you say? So it's the thing we're working on, but it's the dynamic of it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we would all be better off if that
we did the Ted Consistency thing.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why that book took 2 episodes to dive into and talk about. And he's not wrong in a lot of his analysis
his
of things.
Execution may not have been appropriate, but his analysis was 100% accurate.
Yes, and like he has the idea of like surrogate activities where people are just like, doing stuff for like, and it's like, well, no, like, like you got to go and do something physically, especially as a man. It is important for you to get out there, and whether you succeed or not, at least attempt something physical, and getting out there and doing it either alone, because that really helps build the mental fortitude part that we were talking about that people don't really have anymore. Because like, it's hard to go out and do a long ass walk with your friends. It's physically challenging.
Yes.
But it's important because doing that helps burn off all of the cortisol that builds up in your body that you get from stress, from all of the things in life that go on and bug you.
Yeah.
We need that. We got to burn that off. Like we used to, when we were real men and cavemen and all of that, and had to like literally run for our lives because there was a saber-toothed tiger, right? Like we would burn that off. We would do all of these physical things that were incredible for our mental health.
Yeah. And I would even say that doing those long walks with friends is easier than doing it by yourself.
And that's what it is. So it's physically challenging to do it on your own, and that in and of itself is fantastic because the physical challenge is great. It helps complete that fight or flight thing, right? Because you've burned off the cortisol and the adrenaline and all of those things in your system by doing it.
Doing it with 6 other people, you don't want to be the bitch that calls it quits. So you have that automatic fight or flight where you're like, I'm not going to be the first one to quit. I might be the second, but I'm not going to be the first.
You know what? If I can interject.
Yeah,
on our last group hike, another benefit is as a group we were together, and one member of our hike was not able to complete. Kevin. And what it was okay, we're gonna finish this and pick them up. And it's a rallying thing together too. So it's allowing us to
protector and that savior and wanting to be involved and like, how can I help you? Right. At the end of the day, you talk to 99% of guys, all they want to do is protect, help other people get to their goals. Whether you get to your goal or not, most of them will try and help you out to get to your next goal, right? I might not get to mine, but if I follow through on all these steps and I get you to your next goal, we, in most cases, feel fulfilled and get a little bit of a dopamine hit.
Yeah, I think that's another thing missing with men is community as well.
Yes.
Because if you die and you have 6, I think I've said this before, to have 6 guys to carry your casket, you're doing well. Yeah. And with this group of people that I've met since the mandatory
I have a feeling a lot of people won't travel to carry my fucking ass.
You'd be surprised. but what I'm saying is that this is kind of forced community of con guys saying, wait a minute, we need to actually do something about this. But in my experience, there are very few guys that will actually stand up and say, you know what, we need to do something like this. What I hear a lot of is, we should do something like this. We should do something like this. But nobody will say, I will organize something like this.
Yeah.
And those are the men that need to actually kind of stand up instead of not.
Almost everybody is. So we need. So what you're saying is we need more. I had the thing in my head, but we don't need sheep. We need what's the thing in charge of sheep's shepherd. We need more shepherds and not sheep, right? Is what you're getting at. Like,
well, yes, but also it's not even necessarily about the organizing it. It's the showing up and doing it, whether you're organizing it or not. You have to show up. And that's the problem, is that I think because people are lacking in discipline and mental fortitude and all of the things, and it's so much easier to sit at home and get that dopamine fix and like a bigger, more frequent dopamine hit by scrolling your phone and looking at TikTok videos or Instagram than it is to go and do something physically demanding, even if you're doing that thing physically demanding with friends. And then to even try for a bunch of people to go and attempt to do that on their own is even worse. Because I have gone and done 25K hikes with a weight all on my own, and it sucks. Like, it's
Brazil was brutal. 40K over 4 days, but the other side is like, I'm going to do this because I know there were some guys I told I'm going to do it, and I did it. So
and there's something to be said about that. But doing that hard thing on your own, when like it's so easy to quit, right? Because like you could just, you could just at any moment just stop.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. It's easy to quit if you don't have the mental strength to look. If you can't, I couldn't look at myself in the face and say, I can't quit. I can't do that.
Yeah. But that's
me though.
That's because you have that mental fortitude.
And you were around when dinosaurs were around, whereas fight or flight in comparison to most of us.
You're just jealous, Pierre.
I mean, I would love a pet dinosaur as well.
Yeah. But I mean, so what was it?
I'll come live in your house if you want.
Come on now. So what
I'll feed you up.
Okay.
two years
Just,
ago, I
just
think
me.
I was coming down for the Versalenka. I
Yeah.
think we were planning on doing the 25-25,
Yeah.
2 days. Yeah. And being a man's man, a friend of Mel's needed some work done on her vehicle. We met in the automotive program. Both of us could have tackled this thing, and we were doing something on a vehicle, and somehow, some way, I pulled the fucking chest muscle. We're to the point where I thought I was having a heart attack at
You're a
that time.
mechanic, though.
Yes.
Not a very good one.
Uh,
I'm kidding, Pierre.
no,
I'm
no,
kidding.
the vehicle left. Everything was safe, but like it was to the point where like I
The
pulled
nut was
chest
on there a little harder than he thought.
It was not the nut. It was that stupid fucking caliper you had to like twist to get back in. And I'm like,
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, you're on the verge of like having to buy a new caliper. How seized this thing is. I literally pulled a chest muscle. We did this
Yeah.
and I was driving down
Wow.
to Toronto. I was, spending the money and the time and everything had nothing to do with it. But I was making the effort to go meet
Yeah.
with 5-6 people, and we were going to do 25 kilometers, camp the
Yeah.
night, and 25 kilometers the following day. And nothing drove me more nuts than calling it quits.
Yeah.
Like I was on the verge of
Oh,
just
no,
being like,
I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
and it's just like,
yeah.
and
It-
it
So
drove
I
me
will-
nuts.
I will say though that's showing a sign of your aging as well, because with maturity comes wisdom.
Yeah,
Up until 2 years
I did not
ago-
go.
Up until 2
Yeah.
years ago, I thought I could still play outfield. That's when I tore. That's when I tore my ACL. I did. I tore my ACL playing old man slow pitch. So instead of playing softball now, I walk 50 kilometers carrying 25 pounds. So
Yeah.
you know
yeah.
how much wiser it is, but
Well, and that's there's definitely
but
some.
you know your limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And,
Nothing wrong with
and
that.
you need to definitely respect them and do the things within that, but like you still need to go out and
do the
this is
things.
where like men and women I think differ, although like physical exercise is wonderful for women as well, and it certainly helps with all this stuff. But I think for men who typically do not talk about things, and again, it's not that like talking about things doesn't help us, because it does. I just think that we process things differently because our brains are wired differently, and talking can be a part of it, and I think it is beneficial and helpful for those that will go through that process. But I think for men, we need to go and do something physical to get that out of our system, and then we can do the talking about it thing, because we have burned off that frustration and that stress and everything about it, and then we can sit down and be like, okay.
Or those go hand in hand.
Yes.
Where
but
if we're going for a 50-kilometer walk, after about the 5th kilometer, I might have a conversation that very few people know about stress and things that I deal with that I probably most definitely cover with consumption of alcohol and bad habits. But I won't just walk up to a party and just be like, hey, Gavin, haven't seen you in a while. So guess what?
Here's all the bullshit I'm dealing with. Yeah,
like it's just one of those things where I'm like,
but even by saying something like that, that's something that you actually. I mean, I'm the same. You have to address it. It has to be addressed right away, because there was a time in our life, where there was significant stress, and Tammy was looking at me going, "There's something going on here." And finally, one day, I snapped, and we talked about it, and it was like, "Oh, you're an asshole." But we worked through it. So you have to actually confront those things rather than covering them up, and don't be an idiot like most of us are.
I'm not disagreeing. Right? I'm going to 100% agree with you, but I'm not going to follow through on all those steps. Now, don't get me wrong. Mel knows 99.999% of all the stressors that I would consider I hide with alcohol. There's still some things she doesn't know, and I'll probably take that to the grave, because I grew up. We were 5 kids. My dad was military. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I grew up, I guarantee you, just like Eric grew up, where the T-Rex slept outside. It didn't get in the bed with you. Like there was a thing. Like I still hear stories and still remember when we lived in the US, my dad was military for 22 years. So my mom stayed at home. My dad was around if I needed something, but like my mom was the enforcer and my dad was the hammer. If my mom said something and we didn't listen, and my fucking dad said something, you knew shit was going sideways if my dad came up with something, right? Like that's how I grew up. And my grandfather came down while we were in the States. I must have been 6, 7 years old. Well, I was in the backyard and we built a picnic table. And for about 2 weeks, my dad came home and he was stirring something in the kitchen. And I'm like, hey, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm like stirring the meat so we can do whatever. And he's like, I didn't know men did that. And then my mom was putting like washer fluid in the vehicle. And I asked her what she was doing. And I was like, I didn't know women did that. Because I hung out with my grandfather for, a week where it was just like, so there's a generational time change that certain things are not acceptable to say, but those self-set standards of guys don't talk about this and women are emotional is still hard pressed into 99% of the population.
It is, and a lot of it's cultural too, because our family is 7 or 8 generations on the farm, and I can go back through my grandfather's diaries, and there wasn't any of that. Like my grandmother was out. I've got pictures actually up in my house of my grandmother cutting wheat with a scythe with my dad and my grandfather's. Like it was just work, and you did it.
Yeah.
So,
and but not to say
that they were probably, I don't know, because, old pictures, they don't look happy, but.
but I think that's also another problem with like.
Today, it's so easy to be whatever you want to be, especially when you live down where you guys do, Gavin. It's like, I can go within 5 minutes, get whatever I want. I don't have to work for it.
Well, and people want to be happy all the time. And life isn't like, if you're happy all the time, there's something wrong.
No, or
you should be being happy.
Best you should be fucking drug regimen ever.
Right?
You've got the best drugs.
Be content most of the time. And then you're going to have moments that make you happy, like the birth of your child, getting married, something like that, where you are truly happy.
Buying a house.
And then you're going to have other points in your life that are sad and depressing, like you've lost a loved one or there's something like that. But most of the time,
there's another word that you've actually missed, and it's purpose.
Well, that you need some purpose in your life.
What's the purpose for what you're doing in your life, and why are you doing that?
Yes,
and I'll be honest.
What's that?
Annoy the fuck out of people and not have get my neighbors to just leave me alone, be respectful.
Well,
that's all I care. I need to come over and say, hey,
I think you can come up with a better purpose, Pierre, because but I'll be honest, like during that when all the when actually my symptoms of mental health occurred on this list that you have in front of us.
Yeah,
it occurred somewhere around March of 2020, which was
interesting.
Kind of odd. But anyway,
mine were way the fuck before that. But we're not having a live podcast about that. I have not had enough to drink. But carry on.
But going on with that, it was one of those things. It was like, well, what is the actual purpose of all this? Because I'm getting up there. I was like, okay, well, the end of the road is it's kind of coasting. All of a sudden, wait a minute. No, there's a reason why, I still have things that I can do and I can give. I've got 3 boys that I gotta, my son-in-law. So I've got 4 boys to be an example to say, hey, look, pull your shit together. We got to do this as men and not let what happens. And I found you guys, and I've come to know you guys personally and virtually, Pierre, because I've met you yet. But
being the word.
Yes, yet. But it's like there's a bit of a kinship there, despite the age difference. But there's a like-mindedness there that's missing. With I have a couple of guys my age that think like that, and I have a couple of guys that are disappointingly soft. And it's okay. I can't associate with that anymore. So
that's
I have so many. Go ahead.
Life is always going to be a struggle. But what are you struggling for? Right? What's your purpose?
What is the purpose? So,
right? Are you struggling just because you're struggling and everything? Right? Like that's not no. If you're going to
No.
struggle against something and do something that matters, right?
Yeah.
I'm struggling against socks.
yeah.
Socks or sock man?
Yes.
Potato, potato.
Both. You can
Right,
struggle.
so-
You can struggle against many things.
Yeah. But now I'm also curious about people as old as you are, Eric. That I'm curious if there's a cultural change or even a bringing in different I don't want to say different social status, but different social status where if did you grow up where dad was working, mom was always at home, and you always had hand-me-downs?
So
But in comparison to someone that has, thinks differently and everything from the same era as the dinosaurs, like you, that but
so
mom and
so
dad
here-
were working, good job. Like, is that social standard from back in those days, currently affecting the way that their brain thinks of all the scenarios that a person my age says the same thing?
So I grew up. When I grew up, my dad just got out of the Air Force, joined Air Canada. So my dad was a pilot. So he was military. But a similar situation, Pierre, to you, where when dad was away, he was away. When he was home, he was home.
Yep.
And mom was the disciplinarian, dad was the enforcer. But he also grew up farming and never. He retired after 25 years in the airlines, and farmed another 30 years after that.
Yep.
So that work ethic was always there. What I find interesting is I grew up thinking of the conservative kind of values and such, but realizing that comes a time where my parents, for example, are all on board with JT and the gang, which
buddy,
floors me.
same thing. It puzzles the fuck out of me.
But there's a lot of people my age that are the same. It's like, wait a minute, like, are you stupid? So to answer your question, there's a lot of gullibility out there of people going, it's the critical
it's a
thinking
tradition
people don't have. Like,
it's tradition
I want
to them.
it easy. I want it easy. So you tell me what to do. Okay, what I want you to do is go to that cliff and jump off into the lake. Okay, I'll do that because that's easy.
I think a lot of that has to do though with people wanting their heart's in the right place. Their brain, however, is completely up their ass because they want everything to be better for everyone, which is a noble thing. They just don't understand the consequences of their choices and how those things aren't making it better by making everything easy, because what's easy is nothing, right? Like if you go and give everyone a free education, that education has no value. You haven't had to work for it. So you're going to get people that pick things that they want to do because it's fun and entertaining and all of that, right?
When was the last time you ordered a sandwich or a burger anywhere and said, don't put this on that set burger, and they didn't fuck up your order?
Yeah.
Right?
Let me just, Gavin, to your point there was with Tammy is in the a dental profession, so she sees a lot of people, and what she sees is what you said is everybody wants it better, but I disagree because she has sat with people as she's doing what she does, and they have said, it's going to be terrible when the conservatives get in. He says, all those people with all those guns, and literally they say, we should put them in camps or get rid of them. And Tammy's there going, I'm one of those people. Like these people.
What you should really be doing is like, oh, I'm so sorry, I just pricked you with.
Sorry, the fucking drill went right into your gut.
Like, if it was me, there'd be.
By that I mean they want it to be better for the majority.
No, they want it to be better for them.
Under the guise of they don't want it to be difficult for themselves. And if it also so happens to be better for the majority, they're willing to go along with it.
I will even say that, excuse me, they want it to be better due to the majority because of the news they listen to. I won't deny
They
it.
don't want it better for the
I
majority. No, I disagree
I
completely. They
no
want it
no
better for
so
themselves.
I mean,
no
yes.
so I going back to what Eric had said earlier, like when I turned 18 and I could vote, I'm still living at home. Guess what I voted? Liberal. I followed what my parents did, right? I'm not proud of it. I'm not going to say I never did it, but it's just I followed
Dude,
that
dude.
criteria of, hey, this is how my parents think, and I respect my parents. So I just went along with it without understanding the whole concept of politics and where I want my views to stand and where I understand my very, very minuscule vote can say something about something. I voted against that many times.
Again, I think some of that has to do with, like, yes, you're following your parents because you think that your parents know everything and
Yeah.
you respect them because it's your parents.
Well,
and also you're young and dumb and you don't know any better.
Yeah.
There's a critical thinking thing there, and there is also as you get older, you should get wiser, but some people just want to get lazier. And to your point, Pierre, my very first election, I was quite excited to vote. And I remember sitting down at the time, it was a provincial election, and I watched, they allowed 20 minutes for each leader to speak.
Yeah.
And I asked my parents, and they said, well, why don't you watch this and you decide? I said, okay. So I sat down, I listened carefully, and I was actually able to rewatch it on my VHS tape because I taped the thing.
He taped over the fucking Blue Nuit on Channel 11 on cable.
But I voted NDP because Bob Ray was running. And Bob Ray, with what he was saying to me, made sense.
A 20-minute spiel.
And then I vote, and then I watched what happened. Oh my God, this was the dumbest thing I think.
Thank God that didn't happen.
First foray,
and that was the last time.
Politicians lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you also begin to realize, though, it wasn't him. And that's the thing. It's all the other crap that goes on behind him. Because
I mean, yeah,
I think that he's still a decent guy. The way he speaks, I may not agree with all his opinions, and obviously, but he's a very well-spoken, eloquent man, which says a lot more than some of the idiots that got in office today.
At the end of the day, you would have a beer with him at a bar.
Sure.
Yeah.
And buy him a beer.
You can,
like, hey,
you can have a discourse.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, like, my daughter's 11, hopefully. And we have.
You're supposed to know this like this. Come on.
Yeah. I think she's gonna be 12. I don't know. Fuck. But we have always had.
I like 3 of the 4 of my kids. So.
Yeah. So we've always had the open Discord where I'm just like, hey, like, things that happen that affect the household, we're gonna let you know, and you can kind of had some say in it. But at the end of the day, like,
yeah,
me and my wife Mel are like just because you don't agree with it, but we say, hey, there's going to be a lot less junk food because we want to eat healthier and we want to save money to do something. But we're giving you a heads up.
My house is a dictatorship.
No,
it is. I mean,
what the wife says goes.
Right, but we've always had that open dialogue from a very young age, where it's just like, hey, what do you think? We're thinking of doing this. We want to get more fruits and veggies in. We're gonna cut out some of those junk food. Well, I don't really like that. Okay, well, we'll make sure we have junk food. But we've also set a precedence where it's just like when that junk food is done being in the house, it's not coming back. So we've done 2 things, right? We've shown her that, like, hey, we're open to a dialogue. It's been like, okay, well, you only got 1 Fruit Loop. We'll go buy another box of Fruit Loops or Fruit by the Foot or whatever. Okay, like, this is something, right? So you're changing your kids' habits that they're 100% used to. And I'm like, we're setting the precedence, as in how politics are going to go later on in the day. But I'm like, your voice matters. So I'm like, well, we'll make sure you have some stuff, but we are also moderating this where this is going to be a every 6 month purchase. If you hit everything in the first 2 weeks, you need to figure out how you're doing whatever, or you can figure out like if you want to make that last, there's this many weeks or this many days. Let's do the math. We go to Costco, so we've got fucking 800 fucking dad's cookies. You can have this many a day, and you can make that last. But at the end of the day, me and Mel we're the deciding factor. So I find having our kid introduced into those family nuclear decisions has helped in comparison to how I think back of when I was a kid. And I grew up where like Monday was shepherd's pie, Tuesday was fucking spaghetti, Wednesday was this and everything. If you didn't fucking yeah, we were lucky. But right, like I grew up every fucking Monday. I woke up, went to school, and I knew what was for supper. We have changed that, as in we'll make a few things on the weekend. There's 5-6 options in the fridge, whether it be pasta, pulled pork.
You know what's funny though, Pierre? I would actually prefer that because it takes a lot of it actually takes a lot of because I'm the guy that like I'll put my keys in the same spot. I can actually literally get dressed in the dark because I know where all my clothes are.
100%.
Everything goes back where it's supposed to be in the same place.
100%. Nothing drives me more nuts. Waking up in the fucking morning and I'm like, my Bluetooth for work is not next to my fucking phone for work. Who the fuck moved it? Like nothing drives me more nuts. I 100% agree, Eric.
I have to do
But moving on though, I mean, so that does affect my mental health, but
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
I am the same. I need to put all of my stuff in a spot so that I know where it is. And if it's not there, it's
watch the fuck out.
Who fucking moved it?
But I'm thinking though, I'm just kind of going over our notes here too. We're talking about biological and social factors and all that stuff. I mean, the list you had, Gavin. I mean, I think we can agree that society in general, like we've been kind of marginalized.
Yeah,
I mean, you watch all the like.
We've been told we're wrong.
The men like opening doors for ladies, for women and stuff like, and just things like that. Like, I'm to the point where now I'm not playing your game. This is me. I'm not trying to offend you. That's how I do it. You don't like it, I'm sorry. And I had to decide to basically flip the bird to what's going on, and to a point of I've go back to purpose. My purpose for me right now is looking after my family and my close friends, and truthfully, I have empathy for other things that are going on, like Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, all that crap. But okay, fine. But really, I don't care because I have more important things locally to me. What I care about is that the unknown them are taking my stuff and sending it off somewhere else for something I don't agree in, and I really can't do anything about it.
So we're gonna go down a whole Jack Donovan fucking.
No, exactly. So
no, but like, so you can only care.
For me to feel good as a man myself, it's like, you know what? I need to do what I can do myself to make myself better, so that when the time comes, I'm able to protect mine and me with a purpose to make sure that people will say, you know what, that was a good man, rather than just some slug that just gave it up. That's what I want to do.
I think, I mean,
he was accepted on social media, right?
And I agree.
People that truly
like
care.
You've got a thing that you are struggling for that matters to you, which makes all the things that you do matter.
Yeah.
And that's important. That is your purpose. You need something in life that is going to drive you through life and allow you to endure life's hardships, because there will always be hardships. I don't think that there's any more or less hardships than there used to be.
Yeah.
I think that we have just gotten, to echo your point, soft to them.
Yeah, soft.
And
100%.
And a lot of the resources that we used to be able to use, like family and community, and like, as much as I am not a Christian, I will even say religion, has been stripped away from people
Yeah.
Because religion also helps give people some
Well,
purpose and something to aspire to that is bigger than they are.
but Gavin, just a side note, if I can say that, because well, you know my faith. If you're
Yeah.
going to call it, it would be born again, is what you say, because I was like saved when I was
Yeah.
28, 29 years old. But Jesus never said it's going to be easy. He said you will be persecuted.
Yes.
You will work hard. You will have to fight for everything. It's never going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
okay,
But I
I
think
could do
it
that.
gives you something though, because like if for people that have a belief in nothing greater than they are, what the hell do you aspire to? You need
Exactly.
Jeff Bezos,
whatever
because he has a penis rocket.
whatever religion or belief system you are, you need something, even if it's
Yeah.
not a spiritual belief, it needs to be a
Yeah.
cultural belief that there are some cultural icons in our history,
Something you're
of
doing
these-
that's going to be
these
good.
pillars of masculinity or of our culture or whatever that we can aspire to, and all of that will help you focus your energy into doing something with purpose and meaning for you, and allow you to endure those hardships and
Yeah, and-
increase your mental fortitude, which is lacking. And then all of those things also usually go along with a community of some kind, because you have other people with those
Yeah.
same or similar values, that then it makes it easier for you to have that conversation with them about the things that you are going through, because you
Yeah,
have a
and-
bond with them. And that's why, like, it is difficult to just go up to a random person at a party and go, so I'm having a shitty day. But if the three of us go and we're like most of the way through a hard rock and you've already burned off a lot of that stress and you're tired, you sort of start letting your
Makes it
guard
a little
down,
easier.
and
It's
you
actually
feel
because-
easier to do it, yeah.
comfortable
Yeah,
talking to those people.
because you did the hard things.
You know
prior
what
to
you
this
should
You've done the
conversation.
You know what
hard,
though?
you've done the
Try it
hard
one
thing
day.
with them.
Try
Yeah.
it one day.
Yeah.
It was, how you doing? I said, terrible. My dog just died. My wife just broke her leg, and like I'm losing my house, dude. And they'll go,
But yeah,
Even though none of those are true. tell
nobody
them
wants
that
to
and just
know.
say,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had actually kind of funny story that, like, exactly along those lines. I was at work and I had a customer that was calling and complaining about like the dumbest shit ever. Like,
Yep.
and I said to the guy, I was like, look, I'm really sorry that like I fell behind on this. I've had some personal things going on right now. And like those sort of took a little bit of a precedent, but I'm working on your thing right now. And he started like pressing me about it. And then so I finally said, all right, you really want to know what happened? I put my dog down yesterday, which was true. So like I'm really not in the mood to deal with your thing. And
None
that's
of
why
those.
it took
Yeah.
a day longer. And like they shut up instantly because they did not want to talk about anything real
Yeah.
or emotional.
No.
Like, because we don't have that relationship. But I was just so fed up with their attitude and the way they were pushing. I was like, fine. Like, I don't care. I will talk about this if you want to talk about this, because you're the one pushing and you want the truth. Here's the truth, bud.
And and people don't want that. People don't
No.
want. It's funny you say that, because I'm in a situation where,
Hmm.
uh,
Go on.
yeah, let's just say, I'm going to be in a situation where I will be with some people that I may or may not agree completely with, and
Oh,
it's
those are
like,
the best.
yeah, but everybody loves the person. Well, I said, do you know why they like this person? No, why? Because they won't call them on their stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes
And that's I don't want you I may have a giant wart. Well, it's from Matthew, right?
yeah.
It's
Don't
called the
talk
bald
about this.
spot,
Don't
but
talk
sure.
about the speck in your eye until you pull the plank out of your own. And people are more than willing to call out everyone else without actually sweeping their own room clean. And that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things that as men we need to be able to take care of, is like, you know what? I see what's going on, but why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, what's the real shit?
Yeah. So I mean, I
And
mean,
if you can figure that out, then go shoot guns, go drink beer, go drive monster trucks. You're good. But if you're doing it without confronting what's actually going on with you, you're not doing anybody any good, especially those people that are.
Part of that also has to do with just in general, like there's a lack of accountability.
Yeah,
these days, and
you're
like
right there, too.
and so I mean, my own struggles lately, like work for me has been an absolute total gong show in many, 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 many ways. So like when I went away this weekend with friends and we went, fishing and drinking and all of the things, while some of those may not exactly be the best in terms of not being self-destructive because we had quite a few beers, it was also a weekend that I needed to get away and do things with the guy group to help deal with all the stress stuff, right?
And some people have a hard time.
Yeah.
I was disappointed I didn't see you sporting your chapeau in any photos.
Oh well, I'll send you a picture. But we didn't really touch on this, but I talked to a couple of people about it and vented a bit. But like, it was more just getting together and like being able to distance myself from some of that stuff for a couple of hours or a couple of days to be able to like refocus on it in a positive way. But like, and I will share the story of accountability. So I have a branch that I have complained about several times. And a certain employee there refuses to accept any sort of accountability. So I actually had to send them an email. And so they happened to bring a sippy cup, as one of my other employees called it. If you're into like working out and protein powder and all those, you get the shaker cups that you put the powder in the water and you shake it up and like it turns it into some sort of.
There's like 3 of them in my house. Yes,
right.
Carry on.
But one of my employees referred to it as a sippy cup, which is kind of what it is. But
that's awesome.
The cup wasn't so much the problem. The problem is that on the cup was a graphic, and that graphic is of a, for lack of a better way of describing it, a big-titted anime girl in a very skimpy bikini.
Okay, I'm gonna need visuals to understand the whole scenario of this.
I'll send you a text, Pierre. And another employee complained about it. So I had to like reach out to this person who is supposed to be the one in charge of the location and be like, so I got a complaint that you brought a cup in to the office with an inappropriate image on it. They take a couple of pictures of the sippy cup and send it to me and ask if this is appropriate. At which point I'm like, absolutely not. Like, how would it look if like someone came to complain to you about like a sexual harassment thing and there you are sipping from your big-titted anime girl in a skimpy bikini cup?
Jeez.
Right? Like that is not appropriate. So no. And then it started like this whole other conversation, and I told them like, look, you really need to start taking some responsibility and accountability.
You need to start being that position I gave you.
Yeah, I listed out a few things, and then all I got back was excuses. And the one excuse was for the cup. Well, it was only there for one day. And so then I had to take a day to like just
different day than the cup, obviously.
If I had to respond immediately, it would not have been good.
No.
I needed to take a day to like
HR would have been mad at you.
Well, luckily I'm HR, so it's fine. But I needed a day to calm down and not be aggressive about this, right?
No.
I came back and very calmly and politely, but bluntly, said, look, maybe there's a disconnect here in what you think accountability is and what I think accountability is. I'm going to give you some examples of the things that you have done and how you responded and how I would prefer you have responded to give constructive feedback.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to, I want this guy to succeed. I want him to. I'm trying to give him the tools and all of the things. I don't expect people to be perfect. I expect that we are going to all make mistakes, myself included, but how we deal with those things and grow from them and learn from them is what makes the difference.
And
so in it, I had to say, like, instead of going, well, it was only here for one day. I would much rather have heard, you're right. I'm sorry there was a
Sorry.
lapse in judgment and it won't happen again. But the
Yeah.
fact that I even had to explain what accountability looks like shows that like it's lacking. That's part of the problem.
It's the entitlement thing, though.
Yes.
People think I have a job. I get what I want. I can do what I want.
Yeah, I
Because
should be.
in today's world, you can't just fire somebody.
No,
You just can't do it. Well,
I mean you
would,
can,
but
but
you
open
can't.
yourself
but
up.
you have to have a long documented like, and it's
Yeah.
just so much work because it's like,
But I
oh
think
my
that's
god, you're so
part
so.
of the problem is that all of the
Part of the
stuff that
problem.
is being
It is because
stripped
because
away,
guys
it's-
guys will not take responsibility. Here's a perfect example today. I was filling my truck up at the local gas station. Little car pulls in, 2 kids in the back, girl driving, guy
That swings it all. Understand?
guy sitting there with his cap on, his ponytail, on his phone. She
Take a
gets
little
out,
bit of
pumps the
offense
gas,
to the
goes
ponytail.
in, pays for it, gets back in the car and leaves. And nobody says a word. I'm thinking, dude, get the fuck out of the car and at least put gas in it. Like, what are you
No.
doing? But he's
So-
probably afraid. It's like, no,
No.
like,
So
no, dude.
It
You
may
need
also
to
be
see
that he's
this.
never. He may
No,
also
no,
be
no.
that he's never pumped gas before and just didn't know.
yeah, so there
Well,
could be
it's-
that, but I mean, like if
Come on.
if I'm driving the truck and we pull up to a gas station, I will get out and pump gas.
Yeah.
If Mel is driving the truck and we pull up to the gas station, fuck you.
I
you
get out,
you
I
pump.
still get out and pump my wife's gas, whether she's
No,
driving.
I do not, because like that's just the thing. You get in the driver's seat, you
Yeah,
take
you're just one of those
responsibility
young
for it.
guys just don't care.
Just because I have a gay man bun doesn't mean I'm one of those guys. That's beside the point. But but that's also a discussion me and her have had.
of the attitude that they burned their bras so they could pump their own gas.
Yeah, but it's not just that. So I'm like, so me and Mel met.
Well, there's that.
in
But
school.
hold on, Pierre. That is probably one of the cultural things too.
Yeah.
Because I grew up where
No bras are best bras.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like, I'll open the door for Tam. I'll do all this kind of stuff.
I have
and
no
I've
problem with
noticed
that.
my kids will do all that stuff too. My boys will do
I-
all that for their girls.
I will do it 100%. We
Well,
go
then pump her
somewhere.
gas, you lazy
Doesn't
fuck.
doesn't matter if she's driving or I'm driving to the restaurant. We're going out. If I said,
Just pump
"Hey,
her
you're-"
gas.
No,
That's all I'm telling you.
let me
Just
finish.
pump her
Let
gas.
me finish. If I say, "Hey, I'm taking you out for supper," yes, I will do all those things. I'll even be the big man and push her stool in. Hint, hint. But if all of a sudden she says, "Hey, I want to take you out for supper," then fuck you, I ain't doing shit, because you have set that precedence ahead of time, saying you are doing something for me.
And I would say, you know what? No, I'm taking care of it.
No,
That's just
No,
how I.
no.
That's how I would do
so
it.
She can still
I-
pay the bill, but you could still open the door.
no, so
I mean,
me
it's
and Mel
the same
met.
bank account, so who cares?
Me- Me and Mel met in school, both of us being automotive apprentices.
Well,
She
it sounds like
knows.
it sounds like you and her are like.
No,
Tammy and
I don't do butt stuff with her. No,
No,
that's
no,
not
no,
what
no.
we're
I
getting
mean,
Okay,
length
Yeah,
of
she does
time.
butt
I mean,
stuff with him. That's
on.
oh, jeez.
Right? So we met
I can't even
many-
see
a
that
few,
now.
a few years ago.
You're welcome. You're
You haven't
welcome.
seen me without pants yet. But we met many years ago, where it's
You
just
can
like,
remove the yet from that statement. All right, that's not happening.
what? You got access to you an OnlyFans subscriber?
You been watching my feet pics or what?
One at least. But we met in school, college, being automotive apprentices, both of us being French monkeys. Where it's a thing where I'm like, if I say, "Hey, I want to take you out," 100% do the things. But if she comes up and says, "Hey, you and me are going out for supper. I want to take you out to supper," I'm not opening up a fucking door. I'm not putting gas in. You made this request. You do the fucking things to make this night happen. And I
Still
know
do it.
I know you're not agreeing, Eric, But I'm just saying, it's
'Cause I'm a man.
that's been an establishment of an understanding
Yeah,
since me and her have been dating,
yeah.
right?
Well,
So
that's fair. That's
we've
fair. That's
had
100%
we've
fair.
had an open communication from that, which
Yeah.
that's a whole other problem we have not even touched on, even though we're an hour and 15 minutes in, of happen open dialogue, whether it be with your partner, your
So
kids, your
I,
significant other, whatever.
let me go back to what we talked about a bit earlier, because going along with how I'm now living my life and with my faith is there's this man and this woman thing that we're kind of talking about now, and it's the women. There's like, oh, men think they're better, blah blah. So no, if you go with a biblical context, we talk about the family unit.
I got
Woman,
less ribs, bitch. You're
woman was
here because
created.
of me.
Woman was created to be man's helper on an equal basis, not
Yep.
above or not below, on an equal basis. But we have to agree that men and women are different in different tasks, because I know I can do a hell of a lot more hard work than she can, but she can do a lot more emotional work than I can.
Oh,
But we
fuck.
are equal
But
in all
that's-
those things.
but
And
that's-
that's what's missing with a lot of guys today.
She can
It's
have
like,
a way better conversation with her 11-year-old than I can.
But that's
I go from fucking 0 to 60 way fucking fast.
but
Where I'm like, it's a
that's
fucking
that,
fisticuffs
this
with
is
the dog.
why, like I said at the beginning, that like there are different ways that men
Yeah.
deal with their mental health stuff,
Yeah.
and there
Yeah.
are ways that women deal with, and that's why we need to, like, obviously there's some overlap, and some of the things that are good for one are good for the other, but
and men
to
men,
varying
men,
degrees.
men need to be with men, women need to be with women in groups and communities, but men
Absolutely.
and women need to get together to see how
You need both.
you need mentors, you need couple mentors to look at,
Yeah.
couple
You need
mentors
to,
that are together to look at how that relationship works as well.
yeah,
And that's
like,
something that's lacking a lot of, I think.
like me and Mel will sit. I'm not a huge fan of baths, but we have sat in our fucking 2-person jacuzzi tub, fucking 3 hours shooting the shit, having conversations as,
Makes you want to
hey,
go like this, right?
how are you doing? How are you doing? And we've had those conversations.
Yep.
And there's some nights where I'm like, do you need anything from me? Because I don't want to talk. We've had like both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And as much as I get upset when she gets in those things where I'm like, hey, how was your day? And she was like, good, do you need anything? And then disappears. I have those same things. So I'm like, we have come to mutual agreements where I'm like, there's those things where I'm like, I need my time. And we're working on, hey, she's going to need her time to deal with her thing where she just wants to be in the backyard with no dogs and no people. And I want to be, whether it be go for a walk or organize sheds and listen to metal music for a few hours. So I'm like, we're slowly getting to that point where I'm like, we can have those mutual spaces so that hopefully it helps. And whether it be have a conversation
those
with
things are
another thing.
absolutely important. Like you need your you time
Yeah.
where you're doing
Yeah.
whatever it is, and like what is you time to you is not you time to anyone
someone
else.
Yeah.
And even the way that like men and women process like an adrenaline dump is
Oh.
different. So men, when they
So
get
different.
the adrenaline dump, so that something is stressing you out, or you're in the middle of an argument or something like that, is like it hits hard and fast. You get instantly angry and like rage out and start
0
like,
to 100 real fast.
It's like
That never happens.
instant,
Ah.
right? But
Yeah.
10 minutes later, it's burned off,
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, now
10
I can
weeks
have
later, you're still answering those
a
questions.
rational conversation about something, because that adrenaline has left my body. Women are the opposite in that, like, it is a slow, intense burn that builds. So it's like they haven't even hit the peak until 15 or 20 minutes later. So if you get in an argument together, this is what happens. And you get like a guy that goes, you know what, fuck this, I'm out of here. I need to go walk for 5 minutes and just calm down. You go
You know
and
what
leave.
happens, Gavin?
But
You
you've
come
got
back, your
her
adrenaline
to
is
the
burned off
boiling
No, no.
point.
right when hers is peaking. And that's
Here's the difference I've learned. I will agree with you, Gavin. you go like 0 to 100
Yeah.
and then blow it off, and then we're good.
Yeah.
She keeps on going, so she keeps pushing you back to 100.
Well, and that, yes, that,
Right?
as she builds.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because if, for example, you and I get into an argument about something, we're gonna tell each other to take a long walk off a short pier and not
Yeah,
say,
we're gonna beat our
fuck you,
chests
fuck
and
you,
do
and then
the
5 minutes
monkey
later we're hugging
dance
it
and
out, like,
like,
okay, what are we gonna do now?
yes, but I mean
And
that's
that's
I
the
mean,
men thing to do.
yes,
But the men and the
do
women
that.
thing, that's a whole other ball of wax.
But that's like an animalistic, like it's the monkey dance. There's an author, Rory Miller, I think it is, that talks about it. But that's how you get like guys in bar fights, right? That are like all show, right? Like it's no one ever really gets hurt. You're just like, "Rah," you pound your chest, you might throw a few punches at somebody, and then like it's over.
That's it.
But that's the thing, it's that, and that's part of the other thing is like we're wired differently. That's why we have
100%.
different things that we need to do in order to process things differently than they do. And again, it's not that one is better than the other. They're just they're different. They're equal but different. It's like
You know what I think a show title? I think a show title is going to be "Men Are People Too."
Yeah, we are. Absolutely, we are. But yeah, hopefully, our giant hour and almost a half-ish ramble will encourage men out there to, do something about this, right? Like,
Yeah.
not saying you have to talk about it, because generally men
No.
are not
No,
emotional, but you need to do something. You need,
Yeah.
And if you need help, reach out for help. That is not a sign of weakness. That is a sign of strength. And more men
Yeah.
need to do that.
Yeah, and take the 9 months to go for rucks with people before you have
Yeah.
those conversations. It's also okay.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, go and do hard things with your friends, build that mental fortitude in order to help you
Sure.
deal with those things. Also,
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of other stuff.
Or
We've talked about it a bunch in the podcast before, building that mental fortitude, doing all of the things all help.
sometimes just doing those things will work wonders if you never do those things. In my
Absolutely.
opinion, it has worked wonders for my mental health, and I need to get back on that bandwagon of
Yeah.
going for rucks and audible
Doing
podcasts by
anything
myself. Some
physical,
weights,
and yeah,
has worked wonders for me, and I have gone off that bandwagon, and I need to figure out how to squeeze that in the busy schedule that we have,
Well,
just to make me a little bit better and save on a little bit of booze money.
nobody's perfect. We're all working at it, right?
Yep.
All right. Eric, where can people find you when you're not on the show?
Well, when I'm not on the show, you can probably find me here. I have a Facebook presence, but you need to be a detective to try and figure out who I am. So,
Well, there you go.
I
Challenge
will.
accepted. Yeah.
I'm going to kind of work on that because my original one is still there, but I got kicked off by my wife because I was causing too much issues, and so.
Well, happy wife, happy life. Yeah.
Feedback, if you want to do feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com would be a good place to start. And yeah.
Pierre, where can people find you or your other half when you're not on the show?
If not on this show, both of us could be potentially found on the Canadian Prepper podcast on Sunday nights on YouTube's and Bookface. I am attempting to make it to the annual Prepper meet. But if not, you can probably, we're attempting. It's going to be a hard gamble this year if it's going to be financially feasible. But
I'm
if
try
you
to make it for the Saturday, so.
Well, you're not far from there anyways. I'll come bug you if I make it down. But if you're lucky and you listen to the Canadian Prepper podcast, you may be able to find out how you can get some freebies from Off the Wall Customizing, whether it be some laser engraved cups or some shirts. If you listen to the proper words and sentences to say to whoever I deem the person in charge of handing stuff out, if I don't make it down, whenever the fuck that's happening. I don't remember off the top of my head. I've had way too much drink.
July something or other.
Yeah, it's just something. 17th, 14th to 17th.
Yeah, that
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds about right. So, or here, I got back on the Discord for the other one. Haven't attempted Gilded yet. Clear all
July
the
13th,
competition.
14th. So 12 to 14th. That's the preppers.
No, it goes like Wednesday,
No.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Wednesday?
Sunday.
Okay. Yeah,
No,
that's-
it goes Thursday to Sunday.
Thursday to Sunday. Okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
knew it was
So
Thursday
that'd
to
be
Sunday.
the 11th to the 14th. So yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I'll be there as well, so you can find me
Yeah.
there. I will be teaching a Stop the Bleed, I believe, on this Saturday, but I'll be there.
That's probably why I'm going, because I have lots of sharp knives, and
Well, that's good. Yeah, and all
It's
those
a
scissors you picked up on that walk.
It's the best course taught by Gavin. I have gotten it hands in, first person in my own fucking place. Best course
So,
ever.
yeah, you can.
Oh,
also
you know what
find
else
me,
I
yeah.
found on another walk, Gavin, by the way?
What
A
did you
rubber
find?
chicken.
Nice.
Nice.
There you go, yeah. So you can find me also at the annual prepper meet. I'll be there. You can also find me on Instagram, UrbexGTA. You can also find the show on our Gilded server. There's a link in the show notes. Some of us may or may not be on there more regularly than others. If you've listened to the show for this long, you definitely deserve a discount. So visit RagnarokTactical.ca and use the code Patriot at checkout for a discount. Use the money that you have saved to do something for your mental health. That's
Yes.
always a good thing. Also, reminding everyone that, we value your opinion, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you do for your mental health, self-destructive or not.
Yeah.
Apologies to Rod. He's not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so we didn't have him on today. He will hopefully be on next week. That, and we would like to remind you all that you are a small fringe minority with
With unacceptable views.
unstable mental problems.